Hello, today we will be talking about the cell cycle. The cell cycle is actually quite simple. There are four main parts, with the mitosis phase having several subparts. The first part is the G1, or first growth period. During that period, the cell grows and produces proteins and organelles, such as mitochondria. In the S phase, chromosomes replicate so that they can become two cells later on. And finally, in the G2 phase, the cell makes final preparations and makes sure everything is ready to divide. And mitosis itself is what actually divides the cell. Now, there are various checkpoints throughout the process to ensure that everything runs smoothly and cells only replicate when they need to replicate, and that also they replicate when they need to replicate, so that there's enough cells, but at the same time not too many, so things like cancer are caused. There are three main checkpoints in the cell. There's the G1 checkpoint, it's about right there. There's the G2 checkpoint, it's right here, right before mitosis occurs. Ooh, make that a little prettier. There we go. And then there's also the mitosis checkpoint itself, which happens right about here. There we go. I'm an artist. So these checkpoints ensure they ensure the cell cycle runs smoothly. A cell is not necessarily always going through the cell cycle. It can exist in a non-dividing state known as the G0 state. And as a matter of fact, most cells in your body will be in this state. They only replicate when needed. Now, you might ask what controls these checkpoints, because how would the cell know when to use them? Or how do they work in general? Well, the way the checkpoints work is when the cell is going through the various phases, if it reaches this checkpoint, by default, it stops it right there. It doesn't let it continue. However, if it receives a go sign from a protein known as a cyclin, then it will let it continue onward. And it doesn't necessarily, like, you could get a go sign up here, but then you might not get one down there. So it's not constant. But if you get injured, let's say you get a bad cut, and you need new cells to heal, then all these will receive the go sign. Those cyclins are what's known as a kinases. Kinases are a kind of protein that is used to send signals and activate or inactivate other proteins. So essentially, without these cyclins, you wouldn't have any control over when your cells replicated, and it would probably be no life, because everything would just get cancer. So everything would probably just be blobs of cells that never stopped growing. It should also be elaborated on what exactly is cancer, because I know many people have heard of it, many have probably lost someone they knew to it, but what is it? So here, this is what your cells are supposed to look like. Orderly, lined up, everything nice and fine. Over here is a cancer cell. Obviously that's an issue. What has happened there is the proteins, the cell cycle has somehow gotten interrupted, possibly something like UV radiation from too much sun exposure, radiation from nuclear waste, etc., has disrupted the flow, and those cyclins cannot properly communicate, and possibly too many of them are going in, overriding all of the checkpoints, and so cells start producing at a rapid rate when there was no need for there to be any new cells there. So you just get cells on cells on cells on cells, and they start building up on each other. And at the same time, they're dying. So you get these clumps of dead and corrupted cells that are just stacking upon one another. And it can unfortunately corrupt the cells around it and spread throughout your body. And once it starts getting to vital organs, it will eventually kill them as well, and slowly kill you. So that is the very dark and sad outcome that can occur if the cell cycle no longer works, but at the same time it is its biggest benefit and why it is truly one of the most important parts of the human body or the body of any living creature on the earth. Thank you for watching.